Honorable AG, I mean, you've got a captive audience of these bankers and all that. There are two things which you would like to say that yes, which is important, both in terms of the stimulating the economy as well as how digital way of moving forward in terms of this COVID-19 and the restrictions. So that's something I think I would like to, if you can emphasize a little bit on that as well.
Sure. I mean, I suppose I did not highlight that if you look at the Ministry of Communications, we still have, from memory, at least close to $15 million or so in investment in the digital space. So we're still working in respect of, you know, the titles office and various government services that can be delivered through the digital space. So people don't actually have to come. I mean, it's a very simple thing. I'm not talking, this is not exactly the example of it. But, you know, the other day I was booked for speeding. I was coming on the King's Road, and so I got my $25 fine. And, you know, my wife was able to pay my fine through M-Pesa. And here was I thinking that I'll have to actually go down to the office and, you know, pay. So those kind of changes have already taken place. But my point being, like, you know, with the banks, for you, when a business actually comes in and they want to apply for a loan, you need to obviously do the company search, the directors, whether they're current or not. I mean, we want you to be able to sit in the comfort of your office and do all of that online. Similarly, with the title searches, be able to do that online. Or if you're driving along, you know, and you see a house for sale, you want to know the background of it, you should be able to go online, pay for the service, and get that. That's what we're actually working towards. We're using the Singaporeans to do that. You know, one of the challenges that we've had is because for decades there's been actually a neglect in our ability to actually collate good data. You know, if you go to a number of countries in the world, they can actually tell you, just now if I want to know, how many people who earn less than X number of dollars live in Rewa Street. How many household canteens are there throughout Fiji? How many people are actually, you know, registered to sell, you know, seafood by the roadside? We don't have that kind of data. And by moving to digital space and by getting what we call, you know, also the national ID card, we must be able to have that level of data available to us, because getting that kind of data in your hands makes policy making very, very efficient and specifically targeted. Critically important. So we're investing in that, and of course we urge the banks to also work, you know, in that space, work together with us. We're doing some work. RBF, I know, is engaging, you know, and modernizing their sort of payment systems and payment gateway. But we need to do a lot more. I mean, I still think that the banks are not doing enough, frankly, in the point of sale machines. I mean, I know ANZ has done some work, but I want see Westpac and other banks, BSPs, etc. I mean, the fact that you have some taxis that are driving around with a point of sale machine is great, because, you know, it is from many aspects. It stops people from carrying cash. The taxi driver is not as vulnerable. You know, we know the number of transactions that are taking place. The taxi company's got their money banked immediately. Same thing with the shopkeepers. You know, if they're able to then, you know, have their money deposited without having to carry the bag to the bank. I mean, I don't know how many of them still do that. I assume some of them still do that, bring the cash. The same way, I mean, before, I mean, I'm sure many of you know this, before all the bus companies, at the end of the day, had this many coins to take to the bank to deposit. That doesn't happen anymore because of e-ticketing. Plus, we also know how much they make now. So, I mean, you know, these are the things that helps you actually, you know, determine policy. So we focus in that area. I think if one of the things that I could request the banks, you really need to sort of get with the program, so to speak, in what we have announced, and help facilitate that, because in the long run it will be more beneficial for you too. It increases your business activity, it increases your turnover, and there are many businesses who actually currently require financiers who can, you know, think along with them, think outside the box. We've tried to create a framework that gives people a lot more opportunity. We create a more liberal economy, you know, in terms of tariff rates, in terms of the tax structure, in terms of the opportunity to be able to get a lot more, returns on your investments. So the banks need to participate in that space too. As they say that 80% of the economy is confidence. It's confidence, really. It's psychological, fundamentally, at the end of the day. It's psychological. I mean, even before COVID-19, there's one subdivision I know in the Western Division. A lot of these people had bought these lots. So I met a few people and I said, when are you going to build? I said, I'm just waiting for the guy next door to build. I spoke to about 5 different people. They all gave me the same answer. So we think there's a bit of a downturn in the New Zealand Australian economy. We'll see how things pick up there, and then then we start building. But once somebody starts, then the other person starts. At this point in time, also, of course, some people are cashed up. The cost of construction actually, arguably, has come down. There's not as much economic, construction activity, I should say. Post Winston, there was. Construction companies were bidding for projects that were priced by the quantity surveyors at $2 million. They were putting in bids of $5 million, $5.5 million, because they knew that everybody's tied up. So let's pitch a high price, and if we get it, good luck to us. We'll drop the other one. So that's not happening at the moment. So this is the time to sort of build and sort of forward plan, because the person who actually makes the right decision at the right time always makes the most money. If you're going to wait for everything to open and everything to be hunky-dory, the person already lined up themselves, as soon as it becomes hunky-dory, they'll start making the money. But I think it's very important to, also value the people who work within the organizations. It's critically important to value the people who work within organizations, because they're the ones who make it. And if you don't look after them now, when things pick up, they may no longer be with you. And you'll actually then be scrounging around looking for the right people. So whether it's in the private sector, we made a policy decision, for example, not to reduce civil service salaries. Yes, we made some adjustments. We said meal allowance won't be $20, it'll be $10. We're not going to pay the additional top-up for those who go and teach or work in a deep rural or maritime area, but they still get the salary. There's no pay cut. If we had, for example, even cut 10% of civil service salary, it would have sucked out at least $110 million from the economy. That would have meant less activity. It also would have meant our credentials as an employer could have been at stake. So we're looking more long term. We know that people currently, because of our communal setup in Fiji, people depend on family members. So this is sort of a balancing act that we struck. So overall, that's what we would like, and we want the banks to be partners with us, and of course be able to understand some of the needs of their customers too.